You ready? Okay. All right, we're going to get this started, you guys. Gives me pleasure to present to you the 2026 Brown County budget proposal. After today, this will be the official budget that will then be turned over to the Brown County Board of Supervisors, who will go through their oversight committees that will then debate and discuss the budget that's been presented. On October 29th, they will then hold their full county board meeting to discuss all the work that the various committees have done, with the goal that by the end of that meeting, they'll have a budget that they can all agree to, unlike the federal government, in recent news. But of course, at some point then we'll take a review of it again from the legislative branch, decide whether or not there is any reason for us to do any vetoes, which we haven't done in a long time, so we do not anticipate that happening with this budget. But ultimately our goal is to have this signed and placed into law no later than November 15th, I believe is the date that we need to have it back out to the state so that we can get the property tax bills out to the property tax owners in Brown County. So this is a continuation of ultimately the budget process that we've kind of enacted a number of years ago, where we work very closely with the Brown County Board of Supervisors. We generally think further ahead. We're not thinking about this budget as much as we are thinking 3 to 5 years out, because we really are trying to make sure that we're planning for the future. And as you guys know, as supervisors, each year the departments are responsible for providing you an annual report that kind of outlines their initiative, their goals that they were looking to accomplish as a department, and at the same time they should be sharing with you what do they see the 5-year strategic plan looking for, both from a resource standpoint and also a capital standpoint. In those discussions that you're having with the departments, we're at the same time having that as an administration, which then allows us to be better planning and preparing for that year 2, year 3, year 4 budget. That way we're not really getting caught like we did to this year with somewhat of a surprise in the overall cost increase in one of our contracts that we received late in the game. So this budget really is a continuation of the hard work that all the departments and their staff have put forth to bring forth the budget. Special thanks to the Department of Administration and all the team's effort to help us bring this budget together, the accountants that work with the department heads to kind of make sure that the math works, and ultimately allows us to bring forth this budget in its whole. Last but not least, our objective around this is really how do we provide a community that individual families, businesses want to live, work, and play in Brown County. And one of the ways for us to do that is, one, to be good financial stewards of the taxpayers' dollars, and at the same time make sure we're investing in our infrastructure so that commerce can take place, where we can get products in and out of our market. And we also know that in order to have a quality life, we have to have cultural institutions. We need to have those cultural amenities, people to be able to recreate and have fun. And so let's begin. We're going to discuss finances, the net new construction, infrastructure investments, departments, and levy. And then one of the things that you guys heard me talk about quite frequently is about the state funding or the lack of state funding that's really truly impacting Brown County's ability to provide its services at the levels that we like. First, the finances. So as you've heard me a number of years, we once again will set a record for the lowest tax rate in recorded history of Brown County. It will drop another 14 cents this year, so we're going to go from 2.8 to 2.66 per thousand. As you can see, from 2018, we're almost $2 down as far as the mill rate. So that's a pretty significant drop. This is a direct reflection of the debt reduction tax relief plan that we enacted back in 2017. And it really goes to show you the plan that was outlined to the constituents of Brown County in 2017 is working the way we said it would. The other thing that we talked about in the debt reduction plan is our overall general obligation debt will continue to drop. So as you can see, it's going to drop by a little over $5 million from 2025 to 2026. Since I've taken office, we've eliminated $127 million in debt. So we are definitely cutting the credit card. We are definitely cutting the overall debt to the people of Brown County. One of the things that are critical is as we build out some of our infrastructure, what we've seen in out on Highway VV 29, what we've seen with the South Bridge connectors, what we're seeing out by Limeville. When the county works with its municipal partners and we build out that infrastructure, that helps their municipalities to create growth, economic development. And once again, we see a significant increase in our overall equalized value of over $3 billion. So this really is kind of a kudos to not only Brown County, but also all the municipalities that are at the ground floor making the development take place. It's a team effort, and we understand from Brown County's role, one of the spots that we play in terms of that team effort. It's important to note that equalized value is one of the critical points that helps us with our tax rate, the mill rate. It also helps us with net new construction and the available dollars that we'll have to operate Brown County's overall budget. So from a glimpse, what are we seeing from 2025 to 2026? The overall budget levy is going from $94.5 million to $96.2 million. Our tax rate's dropping by from 2.8 to 2.6, 14 cents. And the overall debt is, outstanding debt is dropping by 7.7 million. What does this mean to the property tax homeowner? For a homeowner that has a home valued of $150,000, that's dropping by $20. And for a homeowner around $200,000, that's dropping by $26. Jeff, I think we need to upgrade the home values. I don't know if homes are selling for $150,000 anymore with the inflation that we've seen over the last number of years. But yes, needless to say, what we are seeing here is again a continuation of the value of a home, and what we're proposing is a reduction. How that impacts the individual homeowners in different municipalities truly depends on the type of growth that's happening in that municipality, whether there's reassessments. So it's not, on average, this is what everyone should see with their tax bill from the Brown County line, not the municipality, not the school district, not the technical college. But it really just depends on what's happening in that municipality and what the state does. So in the end, we're doing our part is the way we like to look at it. So some of the things that we look at as a county to make sure that we are making the right decisions as far as that long-term plan. If we are seeing decreases in population, or if we are seeing decreases in certain economic activity, or we would start to think, well, should we be building out things? Because if we don't have the population growth, why would we be investing in more infrastructure and having those sunk costs? So as we look at it, the good thing is that we are seeing continuous growth, not only in our population, but also in the municipalities where we've made infrastructure investments. So this is a positive sign that says that by making these investments that we're making, whether it's in the hard infrastructure, such as the South Bridge connector, or right now with the Pulliam plant, in working with our port, these are really good investments that long-term will help our economy work and continue to see that growth taking place. So let's talk about some of those infrastructure investments. So as we heard for a number of years. We will be investing once again in our South Bridge Connector project. The interchange should be completed sometime next year with the EB39 and GV14, the connectors being completed next year. And they'll continue to work on GV15 and GV16 with the engineering and the environmental work. So projects are moving forward. These are exciting times for Brown County, especially for the city of De Pere, town of Lawrence, the village of Hobart, the village of Ashwaubenon, Bellevue. Basically the 7 municipalities are going to be impacted by this project. In total, we're going to be spending roughly $29.46 million on 17 road, bridge, and infrastructure projects in 2026. So we continue to invest a significant amount of money in fixing our roads, which we all hear from our constituents and our businesses that that's an important aspect of what government should be thinking about. A total of 31.92 lane miles that will be improved throughout Brown County. And this just gives you an idea of where some of those projects are going to be taking place. Port development. Next year, fingers crossed, work is still underway. Thank you, Dave Hemery, Dean Hain from the port. We intend on starting the construction of the Pulliam site, the former Pulliam site, to build out that 39 plus acres to be able to accommodate the lease that we've entered into. Well, not the lease, the agreement that we entered into with C. Rice to relocate their salt piles so that they can move their coal to their Fox River terminal site. So in the end, we're hoping that we'll have two other parcels available for other port operators to operate off that site, which ultimately is what we are looking for from when we think about Northeast Wisconsin's economy and the ability for us to grow our economy and grow the port. So this is kind of an exciting time, and I think from the city to the county, this is long overdue. One of the unfortunate aspects, but very important aspects of county government is the operation and maintenance of jails. And one of the things that is a sad reality of growing populations is the need for us to be able to house individuals who have made some mistakes. And so right now that cost is estimated to be about $15 million. That should be completed by the end of the next year, or September of next year, about a year from now. This helps us replace the jail pod that's here downtown. Ashwaubenon Library, which you guys have heard about, this should be completed in April of 26. It's roughly a $7.5 million project. You will see a continued theme coming from Brown County where we're looking for collaboration, we're looking for shared services, we're looking for improved efficiencies of government delivery of system models, and at the same time we're looking at reducing our overall footprint to create the efficiencies so we can take those savings and drive those back into our operational needs. This is an exciting time. I think the library and the village of Ashwaubenon, the county board knocked it out of the park. We're looking forward to seeing what this looks like in the next few years. The Denmark Library Branch, for those who have been with us for a number of years, know that we used to have a library inside of the high school, at the Denmark High School. It was a joint library system. Unfortunately, after COVID and a number of state laws, we were no longer able to operate that library inside that space. And again, that was a perfect example of where we were sharing space, sharing resources, and saving taxpayers money. And so as that was shut down, of course, the Village of Denmark in that region wanted to make sure that Brown County would continue to deliver library services in that part of the county. Working with the library board, working with the Denmark community, they created this community group called One Denmark, which ultimately launched the One Denmark Community Center. And in partnership with them, we began the process of kind of envisioning what that may look like. And luckily, through the leadership and drive of Kathy Pletcher, who was on the library board for many years, she applied for a flexible facilities program grant, and we were fortunate to receive it. So that $4 million is going to cover a significant amount of the overall project, and ultimately is going to provide a great library resource for the residents in that part of the county. So we're excited to see that happen. That should be completed in 2026. Third on the square, you guys, we've recently had some announcements with the Job Center where they've located their operations inside the library. They used to be right over here where I think they had close to 25,000 square feet that they were operating from. If nobody knows, the state of Wisconsin, Brown County, has had historical low unemployment numbers, and that's forecasted to remain that way for a number of years going forward. And the way that the Wisconsin Department of Workforce operates and how these job centers operate, it's money that's coming from the federal government. And so because we have low unemployment, the federal government decides that we no longer need those resources because we don't have a high rate of unemployment. So they're decreasing the money that's going to the state, what ultimately then goes to funding these job centers and programs within a community. Because we knew that was coming, we began conversations about 2 years in terms of how do we share services, how do we share resources, how do we share spaces. We realized and saw that a lot of the people who were going into the job center were individuals who were coming into our library to use our resources because we were actually open more hours. We were actually better customer friendly for those individuals who were seeking to apply online. Job Center was only open a certain amount of hours Monday through Friday, whereas the library, as you guys are aware, is open 7 days a week in most of our locations. And so from that standpoint, it made sense. At the same time, as you guys are aware, the library is 90,000 square feet. Libraries today do not need 90,000 square feet. And so what we did is we said, we have space if you're interested in coming over. So that's one of the pieces of the puzzle that we've been working on. And at the same time, we've been working with the ADRC in terms of their vision for the Meals on Wheels and expanding that service from roughly 750 meals a day to 1,000 meals plus. And one of the ways for them to be able to do that is we need to have an appropriate facility to build or to make those meals and then be able to deliver them. In all that conversation, of course, as that was happening, we realized that, hey, maybe ADRC's operations could move actually into the library because, again, what do we notice? There are a lot of the individuals who are using the ADRC services that are actually coming into our library. And so maybe we were able to make this concept third on the square, where we have a number of different individuals who are coming in to use the library, the ADRC, the Job Center. Maybe we can put them all inside this building and create the new vision for the next 20, 30 years and reinvest ourselves in the library system, in the central library. So we're going through our process right now, the total due diligence. We brought on some consultants to make sure that what we're thinking is correct. Ultimately, this could be up to a $27 million project, and we're excited for that to come to fruition. More work to be had, but right now we're in a pretty good spot. Like many things in Brown County, they've been around for a number of years and they've served a great purpose, and at times we need to make sure that we're reinvesting in these assets. So one of those assets, I certainly can remember as a small child going out there, is the Bayshore Park. So we have been working on slowly but surely renovating the camping sites, the camping experience, and it's now time for us to work on the ability to make sure that we have appropriate docking systems in place for people to be able to utilize this as a recreational site. both for fishing offshore or launching your boat. The reality is the Bay of Green Bay, by an economic study, showcased that that bay brings in roughly $250 million annually in economic impact to Brown County because of the fishery that we have here. So we want to make sure that we're doing everything we can to encourage that discretionary spend to take place here in Brown County. Encourage people to want to stay in our hotels to help us pay for the Rush Expo, the Rush Center. So these infrastructure investments that we're making, such as this, are very important for our long-term viability and to create the place that people want to come. So this is an exciting project. We have 2 phases that will happen. Phase 1 is this year, and then Phase 2 will be next year. Fairgrounds, as you guys have heard, we've talked about how do we create the Fox River West Trail. That's been in talks since we did the master plan for the fairgrounds. Fairgrounds, we've slowly but surely been investing in different programming aspects. So you've seen us to invest in the facilities for both showers and bathrooms, making that a larger space for the type of crowds that we actually have out there. One of the other pieces of our examination was how do we actually connect the trail. As you guys saw, the village of Ashwaubenon took a big step where they took the former Schneider transport site and they converted that through private development, public-private development, where there's now housing there. But they also connected a trail from on the other side of 172 all the way up to Ashwaubenon. They've added a bridge to go over Duck Creek, and we're hoping to be able to connect that now through Newwater, through the fairgrounds, and then connecting it up with the pier. Long-term goal, you guys, is that we are going to be able to have a loop from De Pere to downtown Green Bay. So you'll be able to go from one side to the other all the way in a loop and enjoy the Fox River. We are bringing people back to the Fox River to enjoy the waterfront. And these are small infrastructure investments that Brown County is doing to be a partner with the municipality to create that place that we all want to enjoy. So this is one of the projects that we'll be doing next year. East River Water Trail continues to be an investment through Lancon and their team and their partners, most notably the different municipalities. Again, as you keep hearing the reoccurring theme, is that we want to be investing in our infrastructure to help municipalities. So this is Alloway, this is Bellevue, this is De Pere, right? We're connecting, we're making some investments in the watershed to make sure that we're taking care of some of the invasive species, soil erosions, while the municipalities will be adding some of the hard infrastructure that allow for the kayak launches to take place. But this is another way for us to enjoy water in Brown County and be able to take an advantage of something that a lot of communities don't have. Community Gardens Enhancement Plan. We'll continue to work on what can we do to make sure, if you guys haven't noticed, community gardens continue to grow in high demand. Municipalities, along with residents in Brown County, continue to ask for larger plots. People are more interested in understanding where their food is coming from, how it's being grown, and that whole idea from seed to plate. It all ties together, right? Because when you think about it, how we grow our food ultimately impacts our environment, it impacts our water quality, it impacts the sediments running into the water or into our tributaries, which ultimately run into the bay. And if we don't get that under control, we have issues with algae blooms, we have problems with dead zones, and ultimately the overall quality of our fisheries. In the end, this is just another cool project that's going to be taking place in Brown County. Departments and levy, for those who are interested in better understanding, where does the levy go? So we have, any given point in time, our budgets can run from $275 million to $350 million, depending on what large projects we have underway that are mainly from a capital standpoint. But what most people are interested in is what's happening to my property tax. Where are my property tax dollars going? And so what this slide shows you is where is that money going? So Brown County invests roughly 44% of our property tax to the sheriff's office, 24% to our Health and Human Services Department, 9% to our public safety or 911. So just from the public safety side of things, we're over 53% of our levy going to public safety needs. Sadly, still to this day, 8% of our levy, so this is called the property tax debt levy, goes to paying off that credit card bill. Back in 2017, before we put it in, that represented $15 million. That would have been number 3 in terms of the largest property tax requirement or need for property taxes. So we're happy to see that continue to go down because that's where we're seeing real tax savings, tax relief to the property tax owners. And then the remaining 20 plus departments represents the 15%. So in the end, that's where our property tax levy is going. State funding model, this shouldn't be a surprise, but ultimately Brown County continues to be underfunded by the state of Wisconsin when it comes to funding its court system. Whether we're talking about the district attorney's office, the public defender's office, our courts, our circuit courts, woefully underfunded. Right now we're estimating of that $96 million that we levy, roughly $5 million of it is going to subsidize the state of Wisconsin for their underfunding of us. So that's $5 million that we could invest in our roads, we can invest in our programs, we can invest in tax relief. But ultimately we're bailing out the state of Wisconsin for their underfunding of Brown County. And where do we see that? You guys have all heard this stat before, but right now we have over 2,800 felony cases awaiting their date in court. And of that 2,800, there's a lot of those individuals who are sitting in our jail. Matter of fact, we have over 500 cases that have sat over 2 years. 500, that's about 200 people. 200 people is the equivalent of 2 jail pods. We're building a jail pod right now. We're shipping people out to other counties. It's not fair. We're hoping that legislation will come forward. We did get a number of ADAs in this last budget. The governor did include 2 additional judges for us, and unfortunately did not make the final cut. But we believe that there is a statewide solution coming forward, and we're hoping that that will take place. But in the end, the state of Wisconsin continues to underfund Brown County on this partnership that we have. Of course, we're created to be the arms of the state. But that partnership says that they're going to fund us appropriately to be able to do the business of theirs here in Brown County. So in the end, this will continue to be the rallying call of Brown County to make sure that we are not letting as the elections are coming up or as we have conversations, we need to make sure that we're making the state aware of how they're impacting us locally. Because guess what, you guys? I just showed you that over 53%, now if we had the court system in there, the district attorney's office in there, you're going to see that of that $96 million, there's not much left. So the question then comes back to the county board supervisors. After you make a few cuts here and there in the quality of life services that we have, then you're going into your public safety. And that's a reality that we will be faced with here in the near future. And so it's important for us to continue to make sure that we're sending the message back to the state of Wisconsin that they need to fix the funding because it's not fair. Outside of that, on a more positive note, because of the good work of the department heads, the oversight committees, staff, accounting, our finance department, we were able to once again bring forth a very positive budget in terms of our overall planning because, as I said to you very early on in the beginning of this presentation, we plan and we understand that at times we're going to experience circumstances that are out of our control. So if we make sure that we're prepared to address those. And so when we think about these budgets, we're not thinking of the next year budget as much as we're thinking the next 5 years. And so in the end, we're able to present to you a great budget that ultimately provides both debt relief, tax rate relief, and we're investing more money into our roads than we ever have. And so to me, it's a great budget. With that, this presentation is concluded. Thank you very much. So I'm available for questions. There are in here a number of county board supervisors that you may want to maybe interview them or get some questions of them about their first impressions of the budget overall. And of course, there's department heads in here.